So when you say date, is that including sleeping around?
It might. It absolutely might, but it doesn't necessarily have to. But the nature of women needs to be learned by men very young, so they can be prepared to protect themselves by the time they're in their, let's call it their prime.
Men shouldn't sleep around. Let me go ahead and play this clip.
The consequences are much worse than any of the other sedations.
You're talking about sleeping around with a lot of women.
I mean, the consequences are much worse, obviously, because you're advocating for getting a vasectomy, because you could have a kid with this girl. Right. It's way more expensive. It's a bigger time suck. You're going to be drinking. You're going to be in environments that aren't going to be uplifting you whatsoever. You're in clubs all the time. You're around women that you don't really like. You get angry because you have to deal with, like, Myron always jokes about how he's going bald doing the show all the time because these women will suck away your soul. And really, what's the outcome of it? A nut? Is that really, like, how many times did you go and fuck a girl and you're like, that was really worth the last 2 weeks of my time of texting back and forth, taking her out on dates, spending all this money, getting dressed, listening to her stupid conversation about astrology? Like, is that really something worth advocating for? How is that a better sedation than weed, than porn, than video games?
But you guys pay attention to that word sedation. It comes up a lot in this interview.
I'm the wrong person to ask. I love women. I love fucking hanging out with them. I don't have the same opinion or whatever.
I mean, I love alcohol, but I quit. Like, there's a lot of things.
I've never drank before. That's the other thing. I've never tried Coke, by the way. That's the other thing. So I'm with you.
You're missing out, okay?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, sedations are great. I've done all the sedations.
Yeah.
I used to watch porn.
But here's the thing. Some people could say the gym is a sedation. The thing is, if you were going to rank the sedations, I would rather say a guy going out there and getting himself in shape, learning how to dress, learning how to talk to women, putting some bass in his voice, and actually going out socializing with other people, getting over his fear of approaching women is a healthier sedation to me than pornography. That's just if we're going to rank sedations.
Well, and then I was going to say, like, other people are more addicted to a certain sedation than others are. If that is significant in your life and you're like, hey, you know what, I'm a sex addict, all I'm doing is going out and picking up random hoes all the time, and I've finally got it down to a science, and it becomes a problem, and it's like affecting other aspects of your life, then yeah, I would say that's a sedation that you need to, like, find, because it's an escape. I think sedations tend to be escapisms, is what I'm saying.
I think the contradiction this Nick was pointing out is that, like, you're, by definition, you're removing from the table all the women.
Let me go ahead and define sedation. Sedation is the administering of a seductive drug to produce a state of calm or sleep. The administering of a seductive drug to produce a state of calm or sleep.
You would want to court for marriage because you're avoiding family creation.
Nobody courts them anymore.
Well, when I say court, I mean, like, you're dating to get, like, married, right? So you're removing all those girls. So the only ones left are the 304s, necessarily, if you're trying to focus on the grind set, but then also have fun with girls on the side. So then at that point, it seems like you're engaging in women the same way somebody would engage with, like, weed or whatever. You're not doing it for, like,
you can date a woman you want to have kids with and not have kids with her. Like, eventually have kids.
I mean,
at some point you will have
so
kids.
then the vasectomy thing doesn't make any sense.
Okay,
and also, it would depend on the ages too, because if you're like,
I think it was hyperbole what he's saying.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think if, like, you're both in your early 20s and you're like, I don't think I want to have kids till I'm 35. That's a tough sell for a lot of women.
Unless you date someone who's younger.
Sneaka, if there was a male form of birth control like Vasogel or something like that, and instead of saying vasectomy, and I said do this and take this, and it's not a permanent thing, you can always go back off of it.
No, because I think that's what we should be fighting when it comes to red pill and tradcon. That's like, it's a similar common enemy that's trying to sedate us in a way. Birth control for women, it messes up their hormones.
You guys still paying attention, right? It's almost over. Good. All right.
It makes them extremely argumentative. They get weird. They get on different cycles. I don't advocate you to take these pills. I tell people all the time not to get the injection. Like, why would you go and listen to these pharmaceutical companies? Why would you let them win and go play into these games and pretty much just to chase dopamine? Then you're becoming a rat for these big companies, for big pharma, when you could just, like, actually have a, like, that's the point. That's the reason that sex exists, is to have children. Then you're completely removing the purpose of it, and then you're just chasing dopamine.
Can I chime in and just add something here real quick?
So moderators.
Yes, moderator.
Plan B.
What's up, moderator?
Moderators. Two words. Plan B.
You know, here's the thing. While I agree with you now today at 45.
All right, I didn't realize that clip was that long, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it right there. But men shouldn't sleep around. Let's go ahead and talk about it. I know this has some interesting points. Want to get you guys points of view. I'm gonna start with you first, Purple Pill. I know you've seen the whole thing as an entire. I'm just curious, what's your perspective on what was said?
Well, yeah, I definitely advocate for men not sleeping around too. Like, it's damaging just on both sides of it. The biggest thing is that guys shouldn't be chasing women, and women should be saving themselves, because that's going to make men better if they're not just giving it out for free to everybody. If men have to become better men, and
did he freeze on y'all then? Okay. I will give it 3 seconds.
My bad. My bad. Did I cut out?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Oh, but yeah, I was trying to say that women need to be keeping their legs closed anyways, because that's just going to make everything better. And then if guys are staying on their purpose and they're not chasing women, that's the best thing for them. The right woman for them is going to walk into their life. I'm sorry if I'm like freezing up really bad, man.
Are you good?
Maybe the Wi-Fi on my laptop's not doing too good.
Okay. I don't know. You're starting to look like an AI now, Purple Pill. Is it really you, or did you program some software? Okay. I'm gonna come back to you. You can go back in and straighten it out. I'm gonna come back to you to finish up the answer. Who else want to speak on this? Because I mean, we got a few clips to get through. If everybody don't want to chime on, I understand, but I do want to get the people that have something to say about what was said.
I do the sleeping around for boys, young men. I'm not with that because they just fucking make mistakes. They end up shooting up the club. Next thing you know, I mean, it starts the cycle that we've been having over and over and over and over again. But I do, on the other hand, that's why I'm on the fence with like a lot of like I rock with Rolo, I rock with Sneeko, I rock with Fresh and Fit. I like everybody's point of view. The thing is, I do believe that young men need to date. I do believe that young men need to have experience with women before they get married. That's just my personal opinion. So I'll just leave it at that.
So when you say date, is that including sleeping around?
It might. It absolutely might, but it doesn't necessarily have to. But the nature of women needs to be learned by men very young so they can be prepared to protect themselves by the time they're in their, let's call it their prime, in their 30s and their 40s. And if they don't have that experience, man, they're going to get rolled over later on because they're going to be falling for, and they're going to be chasing everything, and their dick is going to be making a lot of decisions for them. So it's weird because it's like, in one hand, I'm saying, yo, man, don't sleep around. Don't be a hoe. Don't be a slut out there just smashing chicks, smashing and dashing. And don't do that. I don't like that. That's a mess. It becomes, you got STDs, you got all kinds of problems. You turn, next thing you know, you're a baby daddy. That's, you're a Pookie in the making, right? Then on the other hand, I'm saying, yo, but you need to be experienced with women. You need to understand how women are, how they act, how they treat men, how they'll treat you. You need to get hurt a few times. You need to get rejected a whole lot more than that. And you need to understand that part of the equation as well. Now, can you do both without having sex? I mean, it just depends. I mean, today in 2023, probably not. So, but I'm an old school dude. So I'm 50 years old. So back in the day, it wasn't about smashing everybody that you was out there getting rejected by or dating. Today, it seems like sex is damn near a handshake between the young people. They fucking before they even know somebody's last name. So my advice is kind of antiquated.
Okay. Sean Antonio.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. I can rationalize it in either direction. For myself, I wish I hadn't done as much as I have. You know what I'm saying? I really do. I used to see it as some type of badge of honor, but then at some point you realize it's just something that we do just to, get high fives from each other, from the guys to say I did X, Y, Z. And I do have a lot of regret as it relates to that. So I'm gonna say I'm more so on Shannon's side. You absolutely need to date. You absolutely, and this is for men and women, but speaking for men, you need to date. You need to do whatever it takes to get whatever out of your system so that when you settle down and you level up, you won't be tempted, because that temptation is a bitch. Even for myself, finally getting to the point in my 40s where I got some stuff out of my system. At some point, you just like, bro, it's time to hang it up in the Raptors. Now, hopefully, young guys can get to that point without having to do all the extra stuff I did. You know what I'm saying? Or make all the mistakes I made. So I say, keep it reasonable, be safe, but don't try to get no crazy numbers. Don't do that.